When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Single Tracks Podcast. My name is Jeff, and today my guest is Julian Tyo. Julian has lived in the Wood River Valley for over a decade, where he started the Ketchum Bike Park and managed the development of gravity trails on Bald Mountain and at Sun Valley Resort. Today he's on the board of the Wood River Trails Coalition and also serves as the Community Recreation Supervisor and Events Manager for the City of Ketchum. Thanks for joining us, Julian.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up in Sun Valley?
Well, Jeff, it's funny. Most people end up in Sun Valley for skiing or mountain biking, but I actually chased the woman who is now my wife out to Sun Valley. And it
sounds like a good reason.
Yeah, it's the best of reasons. And turns out there's just some incredible mountain biking out here. And so I kind of stopped everything that I was doing and came out in the middle of the winter and with the promise that there is some great mountain biking in the summertime.
Were you like a big mountain biker before? Like where'd you live before you went to Sun Valley?
You know, I grew up in Oregon and started riding mountain bikes in 1995, 1996 at a really young age. My mom dated a bike shop owner, and I was kind of cursed to pursue a life of mountain biking for the rest of my life. And I did a lot of riding, in the Hood River area and also in Forest Park in Portland. Then moved to Ashland, Oregon, for college. And I didn't ride my bike uphill for 4 years because the shuttling was so darn good there. So it was a pretty rude awakening when I moved out to Sun Valley and took a look at all the service roads and realized that there really weren't any good shuttles out here.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Sun Valley is sort of the name that a lot of people know and that I'll probably be using for most of this podcast. But really, the area includes the town of Ketchum. Also, I guess the Wood River Valley is sort of the larger area. So what makes the Wood River Valley and Sun Valley stand out among mountain bike destinations, in your opinion?
Well, I think one of the most incredible things about the Wood River Valley, Sun Valley region is just the sheer quantity of organic single track trails. So we have this vast network that was pre-existing, but has then now been augmented by more purpose-built trails and purpose-built networks. So you start with, of course, this incredible valley. These were the ancestral lands of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe. So a lot of these trails are really ancient.
Oh, wow.
But were then, appropriated by the miners who came out here. And so a lot of them are pack trails that were used to access mining. So a lot of stuff running in and out of drainages. And, mules tend to carry a pretty good percentage grade. So those trails became really good moto trails when off-road motorcycling kind of took off out here in the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. And then a lot of those moto guys started riding mountain bikes to keep up their cardio in the 80s out here. And hence we have this incredible network of both motorized and non-motorized single track that has a really ancient history.
Yeah, interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, and you talk about the fact that some of the trails were first used and created by indigenous people. Like that's pretty unique in the US. I mean, in Europe, I guess they have like the Roman roads. A lot of those are now used as mountain bike trails, but it's hard to think about other places in the US, at least, where that's kind of the genesis of the trails.
Yeah. And, we can't really trace back too much history on that, but, it's a beautiful, fertile valley. And there's just no question that a lot of these these trails that we're using now were originally used by people long before us. So it's there's a lot of history here, and a pretty from all that, a pretty unique flavor to our single track.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you mentioned that a lot of the trails were sort of pre-existing. I mean, obviously someone built them and they were used for different purposes over the years. So today, who are the groups that are sort of building and maintaining trails in the area?
Yeah, so you have kind of this heritage network of trails, those old social trails, but in the last 15, 20 years, there's been a pretty incredible purpose-built network that's been developed here in the Wood River Valley. And that ranges from the Blaine County Recreation District, who operates a special use permit up at Galena Lodge. They built an incredible stacked loop system that really mirrors their winter Nordic skiing product that they have up there. So they've got green, blue, black that take my 2.5-year-old up on her Strider bike to go tootle around there, and they have some big bad loops that you can ride all day and even stay in yurts up there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the resort, Sun Valley Resort, who first started building purpose-built mountain bike trails, machine-built mountain bike trails in 1997. I believe those trails opened in 98.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the course of from 2014 up until 2018, the resort built about 17 additional miles of directional flow-style trails on the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the BLM, who's pushed for the development of an incredible network down in Haley, with the Croy area trails, which are an incredible early season, late season riding opportunity. And they're great in the summer too. And then as well as our partners with the U.S. Forest Service, they have been pretty progressive up here at the Ketchum Ranger District, and first built a flow trail after our 2007 fire called Forbidden Fruit that is a really great little 1.2 mile trail, one of the first kind of flow trails in the U.S. that was on public lands and directional, pretty progressive for what it was at the time. And we're actually working to add an extension to that and refinish that trail this year. But there's also this beautiful trail alignment called Alden Gulch that they built 3 years ago. They were rebuilt, I should say, and that's become a pretty popular trail that we can talk a little bit more about later. But again, those are the main players: BCRD, Blaine County Rec District, Sun Valley Resort, Bureau of Land Management, the U.S. Forest Service. So a lot of people doing some incredible things to enhance the trail community here.
Yeah. Well, I imagine obviously there's a lot of work that goes into that. And at the resort itself, I mean, obviously they sell lift tickets, like they're able to, use some of the money that they collect to help pay for trail crews and folks to build and maintain the trails. But then I imagine most of the other stuff beyond the resort relies a lot on volunteers and fundraising and all that sort of thing. What are some of the challenges that the Wood River Valley faces in terms of being a popular recreation destination? I imagine you get a lot of trail users, but they don't necessarily have a way to sort of give back to the trails. And a lot of that work falls to the locals. Is that the case?
That is very much the case. And fortunately, we have the Wood River Trails Coalition, which is our local nonprofit that I've been on the board of for the last 2 years. They're originally the Wood River Bicycle Coalition, founded, I believe, in 2009, 2010. And we kind of rebranded a couple years ago to bring in all trail users into the fold. So,
cool.
Yeah, through that, we've been incredibly successful in fundraising, not only for through our own membership drives, but also through private donations. And part of our mission is to fund paid positions on our Ketchum Ranger District U.S. Forest Service trail crew through a joint collection agreement. So we are using private dollars, and we're the conduit to funding these public resources that would otherwise not be available here in the Wood River Valley.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys have a group that's really well organized, but at the same time, there's a ton of work to do. What are some of the challenges that the group faces in terms of creating and maintaining these world-class trails, really, that are attracting so many people from out of town?
Well, I think as everywhere in the United States, we're seeing an incredible interest in cycling, off-road cycling in a way, and just the outdoors in general in a way that none of us really were prepared for. And as such, we have a lot of new users out on the trails. And with that, we have been struggling with some of our trailhead capacity, specifically on weekends. User conflict. A lot of these people don't necessarily understand the rules of the road, rules of the trail.
Yeah.
And that's been, the bikers are guilty, the hikers are guilty. Everybody is been challenged to learn this new etiquette. And so a big part of that is, falls on us as a Trails Coalition to message that. But one of the other things that we're seeing with some of our new users is kind of a lack of preparedness for the type of experience that they're going to go have. And, at the resort, you're in a, controlled environment. As soon as you get out into the backcountry, you're really on your own. And so whether that's a lack of tools or a lack of fitness or a lack of something as simple as hydration here at 5,800 feet, we've had a lot of people getting into trouble over the last year in the backcountry. So, lots of new challenges, and it's something that's not unique to us, but we're trying to learn how to manage it. So,
yeah. Well, that's interesting. You bring up like a lack of preparedness, because I guess for most of us, we can imagine, showing up to a place or a town, and there are obviously impacts in terms of like parking and, somebody's got to pick up the garbage at the trailhead, and, the trails get some wear and tear on them. But when you talk about like rescues and people, needing medical assistance, I mean, that's a big drain on a lot of resources in a small community. And something that I guess most of us figure like, oh, that's not going to happen to me, or we just don't even think about it at all. And it's interesting that is a challenge. I know that you mentioned as well that a lot of the trails there are motorized, and I visited Sun Valley many years ago and was interested to learn that a lot of those trails, because they're motorized, you can ride e-bikes on them. So are you seeing a lot of people riding more e-bikes on trails? And is that potentially, I don't want to throw out too many stereotypes here, but is that potentially something that is an issue in terms of preparedness or new riders? Absolutely.
And the e-bike is an incredible tool. We use them for trail maintenance. We mobilized all our tools out on a bob trailer and an e-bike for our event tonight. That's our best practice. But with that capability comes the risk of someone who doesn't necessarily have the experience of riding a mountain bike, let alone a 45-pound e-bike.
Yeah, that has a limited range too. I mean, most trail rides, right, we're like going out and back, or maybe we're doing a loop and hoping we make it back around. But yeah, I could see that being an issue.
Yeah, and a lot of our motorized trails are not proximal to town, so they're not kind of the trade routes that are right next to town. They're more so in the backcountry. So you have users who are getting on e-bikes and going out into the backcountry and not necessarily having the experience that is required to ride some of these trails that are rugged, motorized, moto trails, heritage moto trails, and not kind of this front country purpose-built experience that a lot of new e-bike riders are accustomed to. So, we've had anecdotally there were quite a few e-bike rescues in addition to just standard backcountry rescues last year, but it's definitely a new thing that's on everyone's radar here.
Yeah. And are people renting e-bikes in town? Like, is that a thing, or does it seem like people are bringing their bikes?
A lot of people are bringing their own bikes, but almost every shop rents a high quality full suspension e-bike here in town.
Interesting. Well, I could see that too, that, in a place like Sun Valley where you have a resort experience, I could see someone showing up, right in the resort one day. And then on the next day, they say, I'm going to rent an e-bike and go, try this other trail down the road. And like you said, it's a totally different experience, backcountry versus being at the resort where, medical assistance is a walkie-talkie away versus, being on your own.
Yeah, I would definitely advise that anyone visiting here, because we do have limited cell range in a lot of these backcountry experiences, get either I forget the name of the app, but there's an app you can get that sends low signal text messages in an SOS situation, or carry a Garmin InReach or something similar, because you can get yourself into trouble pretty quickly with any kind of motor, let alone just a regular bike.
For someone who is planning a visit to Sun Valley for the first time, what are a couple of the must-ride trails or trails that you really recommend people ride so that they have a good time and are safe doing it as well?
Yeah, so as far as something that's family-friendly, so you have a range of abilities, or you're got some young kids, or you're new yourself, some of the more approachable rides can be found up at Galena Lodge. I mentioned them earlier. It's that purpose-built stacked loop network, 17 miles north of Ketchum. It's very much a European trail center style model with incredible food at the lodge. They've got a bike shop, bike rentals. You can stay in a yurt up there and really ride something for everyone. So you could definitely keep a family of all abilities entertained for a day going and riding up there. And then as far as close into town, there's some great riding out by the resort, either the White Clouds Trail Network, which is right next to the Sun Valley Lodge, the historic Sun Valley Lodge, or if you can go a little bit farther out, you can ride Corral Creek, which can either be ridden as an out and back or can be looped via the road, which is a lot more approachable for some beginner users. And that's pretty mellow grade and also not a huge climb, a couple little punches, but kind of a good progression into a true single track experience. The bike park at Sun Valley Resort on Bald Mountain, wouldn't necessarily recommend that as a first time mountain bike experience, but definitely a great intermediate experience, and for people who are looking to have purpose-built, controlled experience on the mountain, and also get to start taking their wheels off the ground and getting into some bank turns. Yeah, it's a great resource, and definitely worth spending a day up there. Definitely a trail bike park, not a downhill bike park. So you'll be fine riding a 5-inch, 6-inch travel trail bike or enduro bike. And then in the shoulder season, I'd definitely recommend the Croy Canyon trails. They're some of the first trails to melt out. Those are down in Haley, and also some of the last to get covered in snow. So incredible resource out there. Again, kind of a stacked loop system. So really something for everyone.
Yeah, that's cool. And there's gravel road riding as well in the area, right? There are some places you would recommend that people could go out and get a lot of miles in.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you can ride to Canada on dirt roads from here if you want.
Whoa.
Yeah. I know guys who do it on their motorcycles, but you could definitely do it on a gravel bike. We all joke that there's no reason to own a road bike up here. You should just get a gravel bike. So a ton of great gravel riding out the Warm Springs Drainage, Trail Creek, where there's the Rebecca's Private Idaho event, and any number of side canyons. You can get yourself good and lost in a good way on a gravel bike out here.
Yeah. Was there any single track that you can recommend to folks who are more experienced riders, fit, used to doing sort of bigger backcountry rides, places that are a little farther out maybe, and where you're going to run into fewer crowds?
Oh, for sure. The Baker Creek drainage north of town has a couple signature rides that I would recommend. Osberg Ridgeline Trail was reconstructed in about 2014, 2015. It's this incredible kind of crest type experience where you're sitting on top of a ridge and climbing, descending, but just with incredible views into the surrounding mountain ranges. You can ride it a couple different ways as a loop with the Alden Gulch Trail that I mentioned. That's a progressive backcountry downhill trail.
Okay.
Or you can ride it as a shuttle. But we have a saying out here, it's an Idaho shuttle, meaning that there's still a lot of climbing involved. So,
okay.
Yeah, but I'd say that's definitely worth it for the out-of-town visitor to check out. And you can link Osberg up with any number of combinations of trails to get back into town, whether that's Fox Peak down into Adams Gulch or the Oregon Gulch trail down into the Oregon Gulch drainage or up and over into Fox Creek drainage. So definitely an incredible number of combinations that you can, riff off of to, create a experience off the Osberg Trail.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, you mentioned a shuttle. Are there shuttle operators or other tour operators in town that folks can connect with?
Absolutely. The Sun Valley Mountain Guides are probably going to be your best bet. They're based out of the Sturdivant's bike shop, and they have a variety of different shuttle vehicles that are totally capable of hauling a ton of bikes and a ton of people. So they're good for those kind of point-to-point Idaho shuttles that I was mentioning, or if you dream something up, looking at a map, want to get from one place to another, it would be a good resource for that too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. As far as kind of the bigger tour operators, Western Spirit, based out of Moab, they do some guided trips up here as well. Those are definitely on the high end, but they run a couple different Sun Valley single track experiences annually. And I don't think we have anybody else running shuttles right now, but yeah, Sturdivant's is kind of the only game in town there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as far as folks who maybe are flying in or they're just, kind of coming through town for the day, I imagine you can rent bikes at the resort. Are there other spots as well where you could rent a bike?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Jeff. So at the resort, you can rent from their downhill fleet, which is Kona Process and Norco bikes that are great for that experience if you only have your cross-country bike with you or your trail bike with you. But I think we have something like 8 different bike shops in town, and almost every major brand is represented. So most of those shops not only have entry-level hardtails and run kind of price point trail bikes for rent, but they also have some performance demos as well. So you can go out and ride the best of the best. Might not be that full top of the line spec, but you still have the opportunity to go have an experience on a $5,000-$6,000 bike.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's great. Well, where do the mountain bikers like to hang out after the ride? I'm always interested to know about bars or breweries, and I imagine Sun Valley and Ketchum have a few.
Yeah, we've got plenty of bars. I think even more than our bike shops. So
wow.
I don't think we really have any bars/bike shops yet, but might be a business opportunity for someone.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as where mountain bikers congregate after a ride, Sawtooth Brewery is great. They've been around since about 2012, I want to say, and they've got some incredible beer and some good food right in town at the top of Warm Springs Road off of Highway 75. And right next to them is Lefty's, which is a sports bar with a great deck and pretty reasonable beer prices and some good, just kind of sports bar food.
Mm-hmm.
And Wise Guy Pizza is a favorite of mine. Mountain bikers love pizza. It's
right.
It's like coffee in the morning, beer and pizza in the afternoon. And yeah, Wise Guy is definitely the best pizza in town, in my opinion. And they've got good beer list as well.
Nice. Well, where do you recommend that people stay when they're coming to town? It sounds like there are kind of limited opportunities and, so is camping a thing in the Sun Valley area, or are most people going to tend to stay in like a hotel in town, or are there like Airbnbs? Like what's kind of the best way to plan a trip to the area?
Oh, we have incredible camping here, all northeast, southwest of town. So, and a lot of it's near good riding too. So really just, get out a map and look up, look for those little campground emblems. You'll find something.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's unimproved, especially this year. We're in a pretty extreme drought. Don't plan on having a raging bonfire.
Yes.
Just had to put that in there.
Good point. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a ton of camping adjacent to both the town and the trailheads. And then as far as hotels, we have an incredible number of hotel rooms here in town. And yeah, a couple of them are on the higher end, but you also have your Best Westerns. And one that I'd like to point out is Hotel Ketchum, which is right in town. I talked to them today and confirmed that they have a gear garage, they call it. So you can put your bike in a locked facility there. So
oh, sweet.
Yeah, they're bike friendly.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and then the ski resort will sometimes run a stay and ride free package. So that's worth looking into as well. Looking for package deals for staying and riding up at the resort, especially in the shoulder season in the fall.
Yeah, that's cool. What is the summer season compared to like the winter? Like, is it as busy as the ski season is, or are they kind of 50-50, or what's that mix look like right now?
That's a great question. Winter is actually where the opportunity to increase tourism lies.
Interesting.
Between the wedding industry and the conference industry, our valley is very busy in the summertime. And you throw in some incredible mountain biking and world-class hiking into the mix. And yeah, we don't have a lot of room for a lot of capacity for growth in the peak summer months from Memorial Day to Labor Day anymore.
Yeah, that's surprising. I mean, because you hear about how resorts are, they're trying to get more summer business because traditionally they were seen as a winter destination. But it sounds like Sun Valley maybe made that switch a while ago. Yeah,
there was quite a bit of foresight on behalf of the ski resort when they developed the lift access trails in '98. Targeted at intermediate riders and machine built, but just the sheer number of mountain bike trails that already existed, this place was kind of on the radar. I think we held Norba Nationals in '91 or something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's a rich history of cycling up here in the Wood River Valley. But with the world-class Sun Valley Resort, you have, conference destinations. It's a pretty big conference destination as well as, for destination weddings as well. So it's really been growing. I would say in my 16 years of living here, just in the last 8 to 10 years, it's really kind of reached that point where there's not a lot of room left in July and August for events or activities, and especially being adjacent to the Sawtooth National Recreation Area and the Sawtooth Mountains and Stanley, Idaho to the north. There's a ton of people camping up there and checking out the mountain lakes. So, we don't need a lot of help in the summer.
Yeah. Well, when is a good time to visit then? If the summer is going to be, busy and, you're going to have to fight for a spot at the trailhead parking lots, like, is there another time of year that is good for mountain biking in Sun Valley?
The fall is hands down the best time. All the alpines burned out and it's snow free and there aren't any forest fires. It's pretty good weather. And it's just a great time to come and ride everything, and the temps aren't too hot, and the camping isn't too packed. So
and when you say fall, do you mean like September, October? Like is October kind of the limit there when we're talking about riding?
Yeah, I guess I should qualify that with it being September to September. We
That's a short fall.
we get some good windows in October from time to time, but you could also get 2 feet of snow the first week of October and shut everything down pretty quick. So
Yeah. What about fat biking? Is that a thing at all in Sun Valley?
it is. There's a 28-mile trail. No, not 28 miles. 14-mile trail maybe. That's a bike path in the summer, an old rails to trails conversion. And that gets groomed and you can ride that north to south in the valley. There are some trails out at the Sun Valley Resort that you can ride that are groomed Nordic trails, machine groomed trails. A lot of people just kind of riding snowshoe packed hiking trails, but there's not any real purpose. There's no like cold rolled, dragged single track like you see in the Midwest or over in Targhee or some of the other fat bike destinations. So yeah, there's not a huge fat bike scene out here, and most of us are just too busy either alpine or Nordic skiing.
Right. Why would you fat bike when you can you can do lots of other fun things in the snow?
Yeah,
Good point.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned Rebecca's Private Idaho is a big event that takes place sort of in the area each year. Are there other festivals or events that are taking place and that maybe people want to avoid because those are kind of the busier times of year?
Aside from Rebecca's Private Idaho, we really don't have any large events that are going on. Historically, there's been a NICA high school series race in the fall up at Galena Lodge. And Galena does host the Galena Grinder event, which is, I believe, a 25, 30-year running mountain bike race.
Oh, wow.
And so that's not a great weekend to come up. I believe that's in late July, early August. But the rest of the trails are wide open. It's just you don't want to go ride Galena Lodge that weekend.
Yeah.
But other than that, there really aren't any mountain bike specific events that would preclude people from coming up and enjoying our trail network.
Yeah. Just big weddings. There might be like a big wedding some random weekend you show up, but otherwise you should be okay.
Yeah. Or like 10 big weddings.
Yeah. Well, given sort of the limited trails and the amount of visitors that you see every summer, are there plans to expand or improve trails in the area? Are there any projects that are currently ongoing or maybe are in the planning stages?
We have one trail that we're working on as the Wood River Trails Coalition in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service. We're increasing ADA accessibility in the Adams Gulch Trail Network by widening some bridges for hand cycles, which is pretty exciting. And in conjunction with that, we're retouching that Forbidden Fruit flow trail that was machine built in 2009, 2010, and adding to that with a lower fruit extension that will kind of reduce some user conflict, some directional issues for looping that trail, but also create a more approachable experience for someone who just wants to go get warmed up or not ride Forbidden Fruit. Forbidden Fruit's a fast blue trail. I'll call it that. So,
okay, adding
something that's a little more approachable at the green level, and also provide an extension for those who are coming off of Forbidden Fruit is kind of the goal of that project. And then also increasing the trailhead capacity there at Adams Gulch. So it's kind of a three-tiered deal, and we're pretty excited to break ground on that this fall. And then, the other opportunities, we're pretty built out. We have a lot of trail density, as we discussed, and especially over the last 10 years with Croy Canyon as well as Galena. There are still some trails that are approved to be constructed on the resort. So really excited to see what the ski area accomplishes in adding to what I believe to be 42 miles of lift access trails. It's sizable for sure. So they have some trails that have been approved that they could still construct and continue to fill out the network. And then also we have a smaller ski hill about an hour from Sun Valley in Fairfield called Soldier Mountain. And Soldier Mountain just added, I believe, 8 new miles of lift access trails. They're running an old fixed grip chair, and they've got a green, blue, and black machine built network, as well as a fun old school off camber hand built trail. So yeah, super fun out there. I went down there a couple weekends ago for my birthday, and just simpler times riding at Soldier Mountain. Definitely recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we heard a lot of good things about Soldier Mountain and the opening there. And I actually just saw, like, yesterday or today, got an email from the Idaho Ski Area Association, sorry. And they were promoting how 11 out of, 20 or so resorts in Idaho offer summer lift access now for mountain biking. So it definitely seems to be a push. And hopefully can spread out the tourism and the visits, among a bunch of different places. Cause it sounds like there are a lot of different experiences that you can have in Idaho.
Oh, truly. Yeah. I'm already, planning a trip with some of my buddies for, I think we figured out we could hit four lift access bike parks in 3 days or something like that. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. But yeah, really some incredible experiences out there for riding of all types here in Idaho.
Yeah, cool. Well, is there anything else that mountain bikers need to know before visiting Sun Valley?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just kind of remember where you're going. It's one of the original cross-country mountain bike destinations, and as such, you're probably not going to want to bring a downhill bike, and maybe even not a full-on enduro bike. And nice hardtail or 5-inch travel bike will do you just fine on just about everything out here. And just making sure that you come here with kind of an open mind and to accept how unique this place is and what it represents, but also just be respectful of nature and of the community, and also bringing your own level of preparedness for visiting our community as well, so that we don't so that you can be self-sufficient.
Right. Yeah, that's a great reminder to ride respectfully, and that's also really unique the way you put it, that Sun Valley it's one of the original cross-country mountain bike destinations. It's not somewhere that, a lot of places like to tout just like how extreme their terrain is, or how, aggressive it is, or how much downhill there is. But it sounds like Sun Valley is a place where, more of the like everyday sort of trail rider can go and enjoy riding and being in nature, and really just having a slightly more chill vacation.
Absolutely. And you can go spin a 4-mile loop, or you can go ride for 60 miles a single track. There's really something for everyone. Some of the fittest riders I've ever met, live here in Sun Valley, Idaho. And it's definitely growing and diversifying with the addition of some of these purpose-built trails and lift access trails. But it's definitely it's its own flavor of mountain biking up here, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Julian, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us about Sun Valley and the riding there, and for all the work that you and the Wood River Trails Coalition do to build and maintain, and to make sure that there are those trails for future generations to enjoy. So thanks.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for your time, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Well, you can learn more about the Wood River Trails Coalition by visiting their website, and we'll have that link for you in the show notes. That's all we've got this week. We'll talk to you again next week.